I finally got my internet back, so it's time to get back to these videos. How's it going, guys and gals? This is Advanced Warrior here, back with another Advanced Wars by Web replay commentary, and back with a good guest here. That's where I'm coming from your audio. It is Kantbei again. What's the right overlay? It's Kantbei again. Welcome back, Kantbei.
Hey everyone, I'm back here in Advanced Wars channel. Here, I think this is the first time we've done actually a standard review. Right?
Yeah, standard. This is our first standard game. Both of us perform better in Fog, right? But I, of course, want to learn standard, so I gave this standard game a go, and this was definitely an interesting game.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It's very chaotic from the layout. Like, if we want to talk about the map, because it feels like a mixed base map is what I want to say, but it's not technically a mixed base because like in mixed base, you shouldn't be able to draw like one solid line that separates the two sides, right? Like you think about like Caustic Finale or End of Entropy, like the bases are like all over the place and everyone's fighting everyone. It's just complete chaos.
Yep.
This map is also complete chaos. Like as you see the mid game develop, it's complete chaos and like bases that don't feel like they should interact start interacting. But at the same time, from just like how the bases are laid out, we can draw like a clear line like that cuts across like the diagonal center of the map, and you can pretty quickly tell like this side is the red side, this side is the blue side. So it has like it kind of like rhymes with mixed base maps without being a mixed base map itself.
Mm-hmm. So the map here is called Genocide Cylinder. A strange name even to Kantbei because like he was like, wait, that's what it's called? Yeah, that's it was a random map I found on the Advanced Wars by Web Discord channel. That should be in the link in the description below. The biggest noticeable thing is that you have two enemy bases really, really close to each other, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about like 8 tiles away from each other. But there are naval transports for each of those bases to take. Like red up here can like take this lander and get this base over here, and then maybe start taking over the top left corner, and vice versa for blue on the bottom. Which is what I think Kantbei was meaning when he said this is mixed base-ish without actually being a mixed base map.
Yeah, pretty much. You hit the nail on the head, right? It's just the transports make it way more chaotic than it would appear.
Yep. Just fan yourself out. If there was a line, it would probably look something like this. If you could follow the cursor. But yeah, most definitely red should be taking this top left, and blue should be taking the bottom right. Anything else you'd like to add, Kantbei?
Yeah, I would say like the bases are, again, like you said, they're very close to each other, just 8 tiles away, which actually means like if either of us use our SEOP, a new vehicle from a new tank from either of our bases could hit the other guy's base in one move.
I just noticed that. It's actually funny. Yeah, I decided to set up a tier 4 game for both of us, and I went with Jake. He just has a 10% attack boost on planes. There's obviously a lot of planes on this map, so I thought Jake would be a nice pick. His power increases his artillery range by 1 and gives him a 20% planes bonus. His super gives him +1 artillery range, 2 movement for his land vehicles, and 40% offense on planes. You are playing as Adder. No day-to-day, 2-star power, +1 movement to all units, 5-star super, +2 movement to all of his units. So why did you pick Adder?
Like there are only 2 picks here in tier 4. It's Adder or Sonja, surprisingly.
Wait, what? Sonja?
Yeah, Sonja.
Oh.
So here's the thing, right? 2 of the bases for either player is directly fighting another base like in close proximity, which means number 1, there's going to be a lot of infantry fighting very early on. In tier 4, Adder is generally considered the best infantry fighter just because his power comes a bit earlier, and like his power makes his infantry better regardless of terrain. So he can do like a massive first strike with a small power. The other thing is because our bases are so close to each other, there's gonna be a lot of early fighting, which means our economy for both players is gonna be super delayed. Like we are gonna be poor the entire game. That also means mechs and artillery are gonna be pretty good because mechs and artillery are very cost efficient vehicle killers, and you can't build enough tanks to answer all of them. Like not with low economy, right? So Adder really likes mechs. Jake obviously likes artillery more, but it's kind of hard to position your artillery well in this kind of map. The other thing is like, yes, there's a lot of flanks in the center, but most of the fighting is going to be happening between the two bases.
Yep.
If someone gets to the center, that necessarily means the other player didn't get to the center. So there's not going to be that much fighting in my opinion.
Okay.
Sanjay is great because he gets counter break, which is 5 stars. It's not that expensive. She pops counter break, she rushes forward, and then your infantry basically can't hit hers. You can have an artillery, I guess, but again, like on this map, it's hard to wall for the artillery quite like early on. So like it's possible you have 0 artillery by the time counter break comes out, and then she just bullies you away on counter break.
Yeah, if you get like a huge engagement with counter break and you're just like right in front of your opponent's reinforcements, they would be a lot less reluctant to want to fight into that just to repel you away. Also, I kind of thought you said Sonja because of her day-to-day, her counterattack day-to-day.
Yeah, that's also like another kind of like neat bonus she has. Like if she sits on like the cities or like the forests even, her counterattack day-to-day is pretty good. Like it's not super game-breaking or anything. I mean, in tier 4, no one really has like a super good day-to-day anyway. But it's not nothing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I unfortunately don't have this replay, but I was in a Silvera tournament, and my only options were Sonja, Cold, Jugger, and Grim. I had a Sonja mech capturing a city, and that recon tried to interrupt the capture, and I actually was favored in the engagement because of the counterattack. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it's the counterattack and the luck, right? Because like Sonja, she also has like a higher luck damage roll, I believe, than other COs, which is why like if you see like some of the damage calculations projected for Sonja, it can get to like insane swings because of that.
Yep. Right, so anything else you want to add about the map or the COs or maybe even the matchup before we begin?
Yeah, the other thing about Jake here is like because it's low income, right? It's hard for Jake to get E, right? And like the amount, like the vehicles, because like that's where Jake really shines, right? It's like in tank versus tank fighting, he's kind of like just in that regard, but with good air. It's hard for you to get the SCOP and have enough vehicles in one area to like take a decisive fight. That's another problem with like a SCOP reliant CO versus like a COP reliant CO. So this is true of like not just this matchup, right? But like you can apply this to like Eagle versus Max, or like Olaf versus Max, or like a Hawk versus Sasha matchup. Basically, anyone who wants to use their superpower and rarely wants to use their COP is very disadvantaged when it's like a really brawly map with a lot of like fighting everywhere.
All right, Kantbei, the floor is yours. You may begin. Let's see.
So I don't think there's much to talk about in the opening necessarily. Like you will still go for the neutral base at the backline using the lander, and you'll generally still like try to go for like the closest captures. It's even more important in a map like this that you don't get aggressive with your captures, because if your opponent ever decides to interrupt you, and they can do it very easily, you're kind of screwed.
See, there are rivers for our center bases to cross, to go more to the center.
Yeah, if you wanted to like send some infantry that way, it's certainly possible. The danger of like overcommitting to the center too early, you might get run over. Like your base might get run over. Like the count to stop the enemy from marching in and like pointing artillery at you, and then you die.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, artillery. That's something Jake could probably benefit from. Huh.
Really fast recon here, very aggressive. I generally think recon is bad on this map.
Okay.
The problem for the recon is like, at least from the base you built it at, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just filled with plains and forests. Like, where does it go?
It'll eventually get there.
That's kind of like the main issue. Like, it's long for it to get anywhere, and because like the initial captures are so close to the base, you can actually just defend everything with mech, and then you can, for the further captures, you just use the B boat anyway. And because there's so much like plains and forests, it's not clear to me that the recon can actually interrupt them. At which point you're asking, if the recon can barely get anything done, why did you buy it? Right? Like that's kind of like the problem it falls into.
Yeah, I just kind of saw it as like a cheap way to like, you know, hold these cities, like these two. Probably a bit greedy of me to get them. And here I sent 2 infantry towards the top.
I'm curious, would you have to have interrupted my infantry capturing if I didn't have a second infantry backing it up?
On the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could have. But
that's actually the reason why like I moved my infantry where I did. And now when I'm looking at this game, it's actually a mistake. The correct move is to move that infantry one tile to the right on the river, so that it can still reinforce that capture if you attack me. But if you do, you can just capture the city next to the mountain. That would be like the more correct way to play that turn.
Okay. Even you can't realize some mistakes of your games, but always improving, like most of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was a bit greedy on the bottom.
I think I built a second mech here.
Yeah.
This is actually like one of the maps where mech spamming is.
Yeah, I can see the mech spamming definitely being an important factor. I went for the airport. I went for the airport really quickly.
Yeah. I don't want to say it's a mistake. I don't think it is a mistake. But it is kind of.
As
I guess you could say.
I feel like as
maybe?
Adder may be a little bit better.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I think because you're so poor, like we're both so poor for most of the game, you can't really. And even if you could afford it, it takes so long for it to get to a relevant front that they could just get an anti-air. At which point, like, you sacrifice tempo, right? Because like it's a build in a location that is further from the front lines. That's why the tempo sacrifice to build air here.
I think it might have been because it's a 3 capture chain. I might have just been like amazed by like it's like a 3 capture chain. I just need 1 infantry in that corner, and if I need to, I can produce an air unit there. Oh, and I built a second recon.
Yeah, I like this recon a lot more.
Okay.
Than the other one.
There's
because
the road.
I think you realize like I can't build a tank, right? I don't have the funds for a tank. So, well, I could, but I have to double base skip. So it's protects your capture, number 1, which is good. And number 2, there's no immediate response to it. And number 3, like you said, the road network and like the shoals are much more conducive for the recon to get to the center-ish area if I do build a tank. Then I think I do something cheeky here. I abuse the fact that the recon cannot move that far to just park a mech behind my infantry.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Even though I was on the receiving end, I will admit that was a very beautiful move by you.
Well, here I just kind of go nuts here and just kill your infantry anyway, kind of like ignoring the fact that there's a recon there.
I mean...
Oh, I think I understand why I did this. It's because you transported 2 infantry to the top and then you went recon, which means you only had 2 infantry alive in this area. So if I kill one, that's half your infantry. That's half of your capture power in this area gone.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I was thinking. So it's fine for me to trade down here.
There's not much to capture in that area, anyways.
That's true.
Oh, I know why I did this, but you can tell me if that was a good move or not. Regarding to this, putting my recon in the way of the mech just to secure this capture.
It's understandable. I think it's really hard to say if it's a mistake or not.
Okay.
I would probably be inclined to say it's maybe not optimal, but it's not a blunder to do it this way. It's kind of like fine. It's not great, but it's not horrible.
Okay. And you're able to...
and then kill the recon. Actually, maybe I should have just repaired. I actually don't know like if I could have killed that recon with just 1 mech. I think maybe not if I did it this way.
I'll put the calculation up. Oh, you have a little more than enough for a tank. Curious to see where you built it.
I'm gonna be like the bottom base, I think.
I would...
Looking at this.
Yeah, looking at this now, I would have to agree. Go over repairs. Yep.
Yeah, bottom base. Which makes sense because like you have a recon there and like your recon top just died, so I might as well. Also, like I think I wanted to start zoning your infantry away because like you went quite aggressive on the top left part. So a tank there could like start creating problems for you.
Unless maybe I built a tank down there.
I mean, you could, but then I just ignore it, I think.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you mirror the tank build, which is fine. And then I think I just park my tank on the city to ignore you.
Yeah.
That's what I would do now.
Looking at myself right now, I feel like I should like not make an effort to capture that bottom left city. It's like I have that top one to the right. You probably should have that one to the bottom left.
It's contested enough that I think it's fine either way. But I agree that you shouldn't have gone for it anymore because you've seen my tank build there. The other thing is like this is technically my strong side because like now that the lander base is up and active, there's gonna be way more infantry for me here and thus way more unit count than you could ever match. So it's probably unlikely you can actually force it. Also, like if I just decide to start spamming mechs on the lander base, you're gonna have a really hard time fighting because double mechs on mountains is scary.
Oh yeah, they are. It's just heavy firepower, heavy defense. I did feel like I was in a bit of an awkward situation. I would have loved to start capturing this city here, but you had 2 infantry to interrupt it. So I opted for this one.
Yeah, it makes sense. I had 2 infantry to interrupt, and like that's actually what I was hoping for. I kind of realized that I had more infantry in the area, at least like better positioned, because I'm starting to collapse there with like from almost all 3 bases. Whereas you have a lot more infantry on kind of like the backside. Like you have 4 infantry in like this airport cluster, you could say.
Yep.
And I only have actually 2 there who are bothering to do all the captures, and I'm kind of just like skipping captures to get to this front line. Because this is like where all the infantry fighting is happening. The other thing is like, again, Adder. I'm already like almost done with 1 meter. It's really easy to get a second bar, especially with tanks now out on the field. Which means I want my infantry to be around just like barely out of range for both of us. So the moment I get my COP, I just go in and kill all your infantry.
Yeah. It's also unsettling because you have this one and I don't have this one. If we were to mirror captures.
Yeah, but then again, you did get like that city on the top right, and I didn't get mine on the bottom left. So it's kind of even-ish, despite you being behind in the center, I'm behind in the corners.
Yeah, I just feel like the difference is that you have a more favorable position than me.
Yeah, so now if you look at the map, you can now really start seeing like the differences that's happening between our positions. And this is like kind of minor, but at the same time very important at high level. It's looking at like your infantry patterns and like how much infantry you have at the relevant front. So again, like it builds up of like what I said from last turn, right? Where I have all these infantry kind of in the center because again I chose to delay off my captures in the back, whereas you didn't do that. But now what we have is that you have like, let's say 5 or 6 infantry in the center, whereas I have about 5 right now, but I could very easily go up to 9 infantry in the center within the next 2 turns, which is when you'd get about like 6. And so that means like I have 1.5 more inf than you. So I can start taking a lot of like very dangerous trades and still be winning.
Yep. It's like, I think in chess terms, you're like up in material. If you play chess.
Yeah, I do. Material is probably not the word I would use, because like material would refer to like overall material, right?
Okay.
What would probably be more correct to say is like I am up in activity, right? So like in chess, if you have a rook in the back line, like it's a unit that does nothing, right?
Yes.
But what we're seeing essentially here is like I have a lot of infantry that are active, and you have a lot of infantry that are inactive. That's why it feels like I'm exerting so much pressure on you, when in essence like we are almost dead even in like unit value anyway. So that shouldn't be the case, right? And like in unit count, I'm not that much ahead. So like we traded the mech for a recon at best, right? Like that's sort of even-ish trade. Fine. So, it's not as if you have less infantry is what I'm trying to say. The only reason why this feels like I have so much more pressure is because my infantry are better positioned, which is where a lot of like high-level games kind of end up boiling down to, right? Who has the better infantry positioning, and that forces a tank reaction to an area where we don't necessarily want tank sometimes, and then that people like high-level players will use that to cascade into further and further advantages.
Okay.
And then here you start trying to like make a play for that city, which is maybe jumping the gun a bit too soon. Like you could probably play this a bit more patiently.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I will interrupt this. Do I interrupt it twice?
Yes, you do. Got the high luck roll.
Okay. Oh, I get a high luck roll.
High luck roll, yes. And you have 2 artillery on the bottom.
Yeah. So in this one, I'm quickly realizing that I'm winning the mid fight anyway. I don't really need more things there. You've also like dangerously exposed your base to an attack like this because you have moved away so much unit count and like infantry, tanks, recons, whatever, away from it, that now you have a really hard time answering tanks plus recons, tanks plus artillery plus some infantry and the mech, right? And like if I keep piling on that pressure, there's a good chance I can kill your base before like air becomes relevant. So that's what I was thinking at this point. Okay, you take 2 first strikes, which is pretty good, although I have a lot of backup here.
Yes.
I think you probably should have like centralized your infantry a bit more. Like if you wanted to keep taking this fight, I don't think you should keep taking this fight, to be clear. But if you did want to do it, you want like your infantry backing them up. Otherwise, you get this scenario where like I just keep killing your infantry over and over again, and like mine barely just don't die, which means I can repair them, and then I'll get a unit count advantage that way, which is like one of the easiest ways to lose the game, essentially.
I think
without realizing you're losing.
I think I was just desperate for that city. You think I should have maybe gone for where my recon is? Gone for that city instead?
Yeah, I think you just pressure that city instead. If you notice, like all my infantry are there. That's also like where your vehicles are kind of like in a good place to support. Right now, your tanks are kind of split up. It's not great positioning. Like you have 2 tanks stuck in the top where they're not really sure what they can do because they're getting zoned out by my 1 tank.
On the bottom, I've just decided that yes, you're zoning my army out, but then I've just decided I'm gonna kill your base.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's gonna be brutal here. I think this is also like another point where I should probably like start counting tiles myself. And maybe realize, okay, maybe I shouldn't keep fighting for this city. I have more presence over here, I should probably go for this city.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Yeah.
Okay. And it begins. Base lock, you got your own copter. Same time as mine.
Basically, to answer your copter, I just decided I'm gonna get copter 2. The problem with AA is like the AA from the bottom left can't get to the center. That's why I didn't do it. So to defend the center, I need a copter. The copter can also maybe just shift to the bottom left if I really want to like help attack, because what this is called is like it's in creating complication in your unit composition, right? It's much harder to answer a tank and a copter versus 2 tanks, right? Because like with 2 tanks, you get a medium tank, they're both answered. But to answer a tank and a copter, you need an AA and a tank, right? And in order to, so what you're counting on here is like not that the counter is cheaper, right? Because a tank and an AA are 15k versus a medium tank to answer 2 tanks is 16k, right? But what it does mean is that you need to divert more builds to answer it, and builds are a resource in themselves, right? That's why unit counts are a resource, because builds are limited. In a game where like we have 50 bases on each side, unit count and like builds are not a resource constraint anymore, right? But they become a resource constraint each, and then because there's only 1 base per front, like staring at each other essentially, and like the lander base, there's gonna be way less units per front than we normally expect them to the moment you shift units away to reinforce another area. So reinforcing an area becomes really hard. This is why like creating compositions where it takes several different units to answer all of them is much stronger on this map rather than other maps.
Okay.
Here you maybe panic a little. You want to see my artillery?
Well, I have the least valuable units in range of that artillery. But
That is true.
yes.
But you're forgetting my other artillery, which is the mech.
Oh right. Even looking at this now, I did forget. Oh man. Yeah. For anyone wondering, I don't play. For anyone wondering, I don't play a lot of standard. I don't feel like I have good fundamentals in standard. Like I could be staring at. Oh well. I built an anti-air right after you just mentioned everything about compositions.
Yeah. I think it's fair. Like you didn't really know where it was heading. I would probably have gone like another copter if you could have afforded it, but anti-air is not crazy in this case. The reason why I say that is because you have 2 tanks to my 1, which is good. Trading the tank against like from a road packing to like a base which repairs is probably not a good trade, but no, actually it was just a bad trade in general. I'm not sure I can defend it.
I think I was just trying to do the same thing you were doing. Problem is you're doing it better than me.
Yeah, the problem is you don't have artillery, right?
Yeah,
The
no
moment I get
artillery.
the medium tank, you need like something that can cost effectively kill heavy tanks whenever you're sieging a base. This is something that me and Starflash learned after hitting each other in the face way too many times than I can count. About like how to siege bases in Fog. I think I used my COP here. Maybe?
Oh,
Maybe not.
I have nothing protecting my units on the top side from those tanks.
Yeah, you have too much. You committed too much stuff to the bottom left in response to my attack, and then now you're kind of like falling apart in the center as a result.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't use COP here.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting.
I don't know if I agree with it. I don't know if I disagree with it. But, well, my mech.
That-
Next, so I'm
yeah,
pretty
that
happy.
yeah, that was a
Anyway,
quick resign.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot
I
to
wouldn't-
showcase in this game, but
Yeah.
I definitely still feel like there's still a lot I still can learn from this game. And like you said, I do kind of
Yeah,
have
I
like a
would-
tendency to panic.
I would say like the key thing to understand here is like you really have to know your attack values, like and like what trades are favorable versus unfavorable here. So like your tank attack top right obviously was very unfavorable just because like
Very.
one tank is hitting my tank. Like if you could get two tanks to attack, that's worth it. But generally one tank attacking a tank on a city is never worth it unless like you're Kanbei, right? Or someone ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Just because like of the repair, right? The repair is killer. And so if you're losing like one tank, you can probably tell I will build a second tank. Like that's a reasonable assumption. People aren't just gonna let their bases die for free.
Yeah.
Then that means your two tank advantage becomes a one tank disadvantage. So it's a huge value swing in that fight. Also I have two mechs coming, so
Yep.
it's kind of hard for you to. So like because of like if you can forecast that, right? Because it's standard. All of this is like perfect information. You can guess all of that is gonna happen. Then you should never have taken the trade in the top. Like if you reverse calculate everything from like what you think would happen, you reverse calculate. Okay, then I shouldn't do this attack. In the bottom side, I think it was actually fine in the end for you to like hit that artillery with the tank. Yes, my mech gets some value out of it, but you can't really just like let the artillery keep shelling you in that area.
Yeah. I
So I
can't.
think like if on the top right you didn't commit that tank attack, this is still playable for you. And maybe if you committed less infantry to the bottom left and like just kept them centers so you could keep fighting there, I think the position would be much better to hold. The other thing I would say is like you generally don't want the artillery from the lander base where you built it compared to like the side bases. Because like the main point of the artillery is like it's to siege the base, right? It's to lock it. From the center base it is really far to get that done, and it's always just faster for like tempo wise to do it from the forward base already there, right? The second thing is like from the center base, like if you think about it, right, like an artillery's main weakness is that it's immobile, right? Tanks can run circles around it if they have enough space, and the only area of the map where that's actually true is the center. So you are sending your artillery into like the place where it is weakest, right? Against my tanks, which is they're strongest in the center, right? So it's kind of like a composition mismatch that's happening here.
I also feel like I was fighting for the wrong properties as well, especially like everything that was like happening with the city over here.
Yeah, those cities are like stuff that you can take early, and then in the mid game you should expect to lose them.
Okay.
I was only able to contest mine because like you moved all your tanks away, so like there's nothing defending, so I can just eat all your infantry there.
Yeah.
That's essentially what happened.
Yeah. And also, I kind of got a little. I saw a 3 capture chain and I like really liked it, so I did go for it as soon as I could. But at the end, it's like I just have this one infantry that's like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 turns before it gets to the middle.
I mean, to be fair, so do I, right?
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's the problem is really like you started taking bad trades for like the 2 center cities initially when you didn't have enough infantry there, right? So like if you think about attacks in Advance Wars, the principle is like you count tanks, right? If I have 5 tanks in this area and you have like 3 tanks, and I just win the fight, so I go in, right? It's the same thing for infantry. If I have 5 infantry and you have 3, then I just go in with my infantry. And even if we have even tanks, my infantry will win the fight by themselves. The moment you commit tanks to fight my tanks, even if we have even numbers, I get to first strike you, so I will win the fight that way, right? So that's like counting units in order to find like what you can leverage into a win is like one of the key ideas with like multi-turn attacks. Essentially, you figure out like, do you have a overall unit count advantage? If no, do you have more tanks? If no, do you have more infantry? If one of those things is true, then you attack with that that you have more of, in the hopes of either forcing their tanks to commit with like an infantry advantage, or just thinking, I have way more tanks. Even if you hit all my tanks, you lose the fight, so it doesn't matter. I can just hit all your infantry, and then you try to get a unit count advantage that way. That's like what high level players are thinking about when they see these trades happening.
Okay. I see. That's a lot to break down, I will admit. All right.
Yeah, it can get like fairly complicated, like if you dive into it really deep. But from like a first principle perspective, it sounds really simple, right? Sometimes when you put it like, oh, you just count units, and if you have more units, you go kill them, right? Because like more dudes beat less dudes. That's the simplest way to put it. But if you like dive into like the deeper theory behind it, it can get like very complicated. But you know, it's as complicated or as simple as you want it to be, essentially.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again, Kantbei, for having this game with me and having this session. Again, learning a lot more from you from having these games. At least I could say for myself, if I look at an old game and say, oh, I didn't like I did this, I didn't like I did this, that's a sign of improvement, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a sign of improvement. Like the fact that you're able to recognize that there are certain things you could be working on, or like there are certain things you could have done better, right? Means that you've already gotten to a state where you're already better than you were in the past.
Oh yeah.
Realize that's a mistake, whereas in the past you didn't realize it was a mistake, right?
Yep.
The trick for like impatient players is that sometimes we realize it, but we already moved our units.
Yes, I get that a lot. I get that so many times. But yeah, even though I lost this battle, there's still something good resulting from it. All right, guys and gals, that was a slightly shorter game, slightly shorter video for this week. But of course, Kantbei always has a lot of things to teach about becoming better at Advance Wars. He doesn't have a YouTube channel at the time of recording this video, but he is a part of the map community. Map committee. I said community. part of the map committee. So don't bug him. But if you do feel like there's something up with Global League, definitely he's one of those people you could go to. Kantbei has also appeared on other channels as well, such as Master Kantbei, Wardy J, and Degis. What do you call yourself? Like the guy who theory crafts crazy openings or something like that?
Yeah, I'm the guy who comes up with stupid openings and makes them work.
Yeah, it's fun to watch him do that. So if you get the chance to see Kantbei play, definitely check out his openings. I've definitely looked at his openings in Global League to see where I could go from there. So yeah, you could tell I have a lot of respect for Kantbei. Do you have any parting words, Kantbei?
Nope, not really.
Okay, all right. Guys and gals, I'm Advanced Warrior, Kantbei. Thank you again. You all have our warmest regards. Please take care.